Hi everyone. Well, my names are Masinya Ruduma. I was born in a family of 7 and I'm third born. I grew up in a very safe environment. My dad was in the army. I'm a soldier's daughter, a proud soldier's daughter. And while I was growing, I grew up in an environment whereby you had to follow rules. That means the leadership type was very directive. And sometimes it never gave you room to share, to really share your thoughts or even, have conversation. So when I was growing up, practically my dad expected to see results and no discussion. My dad never gave room for discussion, like you are the child, whatever he says, that's it. There's no room for discussion. And I realized that there are some things that were internalized when I was a child, because you grow up knowing that your eldest is the authority, the authoritarian person. You have to respect whatever they say, and sometimes having that conversation, telling them how you feel, telling them no, can be very tricky and difficult. So this is the introduction of our new episode of Difficult Conversations. This is your host Masinya Ruduma, and in these 10 episodes we are going to talk about on how we can have difficult conversations at home, how we can have difficult conversations at work, and even with friends, so that we can have a safe environment, we can have good friends, we can have a free environment where you can really feel free and converse and say anything that is on your mind without having to feel like, oh my God, what did I just say? What happened? What are the results going to be? Because, we are human beings and we worry a lot. One thing I realized when you're having conversations is that there's some things that are really hereditary. Yeah, hereditary in a sense of they were instilled in you as a child, and for you to create a new habit of being able to communicate, of being able to speak up your mind, it needs time, it needs training, it needs rebooting of the mindset, rebooting your minds so that you have new culture instilled as the culture that you knew. Yeah. So no one likes difficult conversations, and that means that most of the time people try to avoid problems or even having to talk about them. We love brushing things under the rug because, that is how most of the people are. As long as it doesn't, you say like, as long as it doesn't hurt anyone at the moment, then let's just brush it off the rug and let's move on. And in the long run, as a result, you who's been hurt, you accumulate a lot of pain in your heart that maybe someday it might make you explode. That is why you see cases of people shooting each other, people killing each other at the end of the day, because that is the results of unresolved feelings, unresolved conversations that were never heard, and at the end of the day, you just got tired of being walked over or being hurt all the time, and you brushing them under the rug all the time. So let's learn to express ourselves, yeah? Because problems brushed under the rug, problems swept under the carpet are not solved problems. They're just problems that are being filled in a jar, and this jar closes. Someday the jar is going to overflow, and when it overflows, that is when you get anger outburst, right? So in most cases, if you're lucky, the problem will solve itself if you are the kind of person who loves brushing things under the rug, but it doesn't really happen. It doesn't really function that way. So the more often you brush your problems under the rug, the more danger you're putting yourself and your surrounding or your family into. Yeah. Learn how to have those tough conversations, because the moment you start having them, things will eventually get easier. I'm not saying that it's going to work immediately, but it will ease a lot of things. if you want to be a good leader, and when I talk about leadership, most of the people confuse leadership with work. Most of the people consider leadership work-oriented, company-oriented, but leadership begins with you. You are a born leader because you are leading yourself. If you cannot lead yourself, you cannot lead anyone. So everything that you do, every decision that you make, it depends on your leadership, how you're leading yourself, how you're seeing yourself, how do you want to carry yourself, how do you picture yourself? This is all about leadership. So when you talk about leadership, it's not a matter of you leading somebody else. It's a matter of you leading yourself first before you take responsibility for someone else. Because at the end of the day, when you talk of leadership, someday, if you're not yet a parent, you're going to be a parent. You're going to have a family that you're going to lead. So leadership is in all different perspectives, right? So let's learn to deal with tough situations promptly. Let's learn to have those difficult discussions, those difficult communication promptly and well, and with clear mind and with respect, so that we don't end up being explosive in situations where that we are not supposed to. Yeah. So I'm going to give you 10 tips on how to turn on difficult conversation, or how to start a productive conversation. So today we are just going to talk about one, and then other episodes will come. Number 1, before you talk to anyone, before you start that conversation, know your goal. What do you want to reach? What's your zeal? Know what you want to achieve by having that difficult conversation. Because maybe you're going to have this conversation through call, maybe it's going to be a video call, maybe it's going to be a one-on-one meeting. Know your goal. Prepare yourself mentally. What do you want to get at the end of the day, at the end of the discussion? What results do you want to see? Would you like to see? Yeah. So you should have a future-focused outcome. What will be different and better after the discussion? Do you want to continue with the relationship? Do you want to have the discussion and just close that chapter and move on? Know what you want to communicate. If the reason for your communication is venting, have your anger under control. Because if you cannot control your emotions as a human being, if you're that person who bursts out and attacks other people with no good reason, outbursts are normal. Every human being gets angry at some point, but how you handle yourself, how you react to situations, that's all on you, right? So if you really want to have a conversation or a discussion just to vent your anger, or just to piss someone off, or just to express how good you are, how righteous you are, your achievements and all that, just to make yourself feel better, I would advise you not to have the conversation with anyone but yourself on a mirror, so that you tell yourself all those good things that you want to tell yourself before you burst it out to somebody else. Because at the end of the day, if that is your intention, you are not going to solve any problem. You are not going to communicate. Instead, you're going to destroy that relationship. You're not going to improve the performance of that person. You're not going to improve the self-worth of that person. You're not going to even improve your self-worth. At the end of the day, it will just be an appraisal of yourself. Yeah. So make sure you're smart when you want to have that difficult conversation. Know your goal, know the purpose of the conversation, so that the person that you're conversing to, you're communicating to, understand exactly what it is that you expect from them. Yeah. So on our next episode, we are going to talk about how to prepare for this difficult conversation. Make sure you tune in, and please share this audio if you like. Also, follow us on all our social media handles. We are Masinyaro Duma on all social media handles. And thank you so much for joining. Excited to have you on our next episode.